what it was like launching it, given the sense of scale that Facebook was at, and also too, what some of the initial learnings were from the launch of Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah, so I think first, um, Cheryl jokes that the first time I met her when I was interviewing at Facebook in 2009, I pitched her Facebook Marketplace. And she's like, we're hiring for a totally different job. What is she thinking? And so I pitched it from then until 2016 when we launched it. Every year, every hackathon, because I really believe in community commerce. I, as a mom, was buying and selling things locally quite a bit, actually. And so, and I remember the chief product officer, Chris Cox, saying to me, like, why would anyone want to buy anything on Facebook? And I'm like, what do you mean? I buy tons of stuff on Facebook. And I realized that, sometimes you see something that other people don't see, a niche and a need. And so really trusting that instinct. And so over those years, I really invested in building the idea that we should have a marketplace because there were tens of thousands. In fact, there were like over 100 million people were using these kind of groups to buy and sell on a regular basis already. And so, one of the things was how do you aggregate that? The biggest issue was liquidity, aggregation. So these mini marketplaces had too few buyers and too few sellers. And the issue is without liquidity, as you know, that's one of the biggest challenges. And so one of the things we had to do was drive liquidity into a central marketplace. And so we had this thing we call cross listing, where for months before we launch a marketplace in a city or in a state, we would say, would you like to also cross list this? We tested like opt in, opt out. And people wanted to cross list. I mean, they didn't want to cross list like a $5 item, have some stranger come to the house, but they cross listed like furniture because they want max, they need to get it out of their house. They cross listed cars because liquidity is very, very important in high ticket items. They cross listed things like rentals because, again, liquidity, and so one of the things that we realized was high ticket items where you needed it was like trust for small items and liquidity for big items. And so we thought, well, maybe we can do the best of both worlds. It ended up that Marketplace was so successful that the groups actually became harder and harder to sustain because we lost liquidity in a lot of the groups. And so, groups commerce still exists and they are still successful. But, in terms of how strong that is relative to the full marketplace is taken over. Ironically, by the way, my son likes to tell me he's in college. He just went to Boston College, and he said the only reason young people use Facebook is a lot of them use Marketplace. And so I said, well, in some ways, it's really great to see that the next generation is still into thrifting and for me, one of the things that was really important, and I talked to the company a lot about, was, we are creating value in the world by basically having less stuff in landfills. We are actually like getting people to recycle and reuse. And I actually think that's we have saved so much, reuse and buying new things for the world. And I'm really proud of that.